Mindset inequality, the new gap between the haves and the have-nots. Mindset inequality, the new gap between the haves and the have-nots. That is what we're going to talk about today. But, first, please send me your validation so that I can inhale it into my nostrils and down to the depths of my soul. Send validation by subscribing to the YouTube channel. Hit the little notification bell so that you can get brand new videos when they come out. All other platforms, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever platform you choose, please use the metrics and engagement tools on that platform to share with the people you know who might be receptive to this message. This video is actually based on a chapter of my new book, Real Help, An Honest Guide to Self-Improvement, which you need to go out and buy now, plug. But the chapter talks about the new separation that is happening in our society. And it's not just an inequality of resources. It's a genuine inequality in mindset and total perception of reality. So what am I talking about? We all live on the same planet. We all experience the same things more or less, but we perceive them in a much different way. And basically, this sort of middle class, both in terms of resources and mindset, is going to disappear. And we're going to see extreme poverty on a mental and physical level. We're going to see extreme wealth on a mental and material level as well. There's two different ways that people are veering towards in society today. First, let's talk about the side that I'm not on. We'll talk about the side of negativity and pessimism. There is a reality with which people see the world that is very bleak, very driven by outrage, very chaotic, the sky is falling. And the way the perception works, however you perceive the world, you are going to find facts, opinions, data, experience, examples to prove what you already believe to be true. And there's a large faction of society that believes the following thing. And there are, facts to support them when you look at their view and try to make the strongest kind of steel man argument for their position. A lot of people talk about the fact that there seems to be little to no upward mobility in society. The real minimum wage hasn't changed in years, decades even. There is bull markets in the stock market, but it's not trickling down to the average person. A lot of people are stuck in industries that are failing or going away, and people are having income that is flat, but expenses are rising. Housing is rising. Tuition is rising. Student loans are rising. All of the costs are far greater, exceeding what people are making. Some people cannot afford to have a $1,000 emergency and take care of themselves if a major catastrophe were to happen. Most people don't have enough money for savings. And you can definitely see how this view, especially if you are in kind of a wage earning profession, you can see how this view makes a lot of sense. The climate is going to blow up. The president is crazy. We're going to be under this dictatorship. Racism is on the rise. Sexism is on the rise. All of these isms are on the rise. Hate is coming back into society. Everything is bad. We need to go out on the streets. We need to picket. We need to do this and that. Everything is effed. That is a view of society that many people hold, and that pessimism is going to continue to get worse. And I'm not even going to dive too deep into politics, but if you know who wins again, you don't want to fathom how much the negativity and pessimism is going to continue to fester in our society. Now there's another corner of society where I operate in, where a small handful of people operate in, and not only are there infinite avenues to greater wealth and greater income, the mindset is on an entirely different plane altogether. So I go on Twitter, the people I follow on Twitter, people who look like me, by the way, e-commerce, real estate, blogging, entrepreneurship, they understand that there's a level of infinite growth that you can achieve with the power of the internet. So what are people like me and the people that I interact with doing? We're starting side hustles, we're starting businesses, we're putting content out, we're constantly learning, constantly improving. We realize that the real game you want to play is not the linear wage earning game. You want to play the exponential game. I talk about the exponential game over and over and over again. What do I mean by the exponential game? My third book just came out, and the sales of my third book dwarfed the entire sales of my first book. In a week or 2 weeks for the launch, my book sold more copies and made more income than my entire first book has made in its lifetime. Now, did I put more effort into making the book? A little bit more effort, but in terms of the pure raw effort, not that much more than the first book. But since I have built an audience, since I have built a platform, the rewards are exponential. Everything, when you are on this side of the internet, self-improvement, entrepreneurship, you understand that the dividends come on the back end, the J curve. So people who come from this sort of outraged, pessimistic, feel that they're helpless, feel that there's no opportunity for upward mobility, they're correct in their perception because they think with a linear perception. On my side, we think with an exponential, logarithmic, I don't even know if that's the right word, but you know what I'm talking about, compound. The people on my side look at skills, especially building profitable skills, like a game of accumulating compound interest in a bank account. So we keep going up and up and up. And what it does, it's not just about the money. What happens when you start to really focus on becoming successful and you start to reap exponential rewards, you realize that your mindset, even when you were motivated, even when you thought you were hungry, thought you were ambitious, thought you were doing what you were doing, you realize that even that kind of paradigm you were coming from was very limited, infinitesimal compared to the upside that is available. So I don't like to over exaggerate and be very rah-rah when it comes to teaching self-improvement for people who are not in the type of headspace for that to even land. It doesn't make sense for me to too much elaborate on what that's like until you get closer to it. But once you start to advance in your self-improvement, in getting a side hustle off the ground and getting a project off the ground or doing something, creating content, this whole kind of milieu that we're in, you realize like your mind is blown at what's possible. So I don't really advise people to kind of have this sort of mindset if you're in the beginning where you're just starting out. You have no idea what is in store for you if you do the work, so just do the work. But I will just dangle a little carrot for you today and just have you understand you have no idea what is possible. I'm not one to talk super a lot about income, but what I can say is that you can scale yourself. The people who have the right mindset, they understand how to scale. You notice that I'm broadcasting out, trying to reach 100 people at a time, a couple thousand people at a time, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. Megaphone, broadcasting your efforts, putting your work into the ethos, into the abyss, and just letting it spread, right? So in my case, I've written so much content, people come to me and they're like, can we translate your content into French? I had a company that said they were going to translate my content into French and put it on their platform. I'm like, sure. Another American company wanted to record my stuff in English, put it on audio, have someone narrate it. I'm like, fine. Other people wanted to take my work and republish it on bigger platforms. I'm like, great. So once you just put your stuff out there, it's just like you just create this magnetic field of success and you go up and up and up and up and up. But then the people on the other side, on the outrage, pessimist, no mobility side, they look at people who put in the work and they attribute, luck, nepotism, evil, stepping on people's heads to get to the top. They have to attribute that kind of motivation to people who are successful because the alternative is just to understand that these other people have just worked much harder than them. And not just harder, but smarter and more leveraged. It's hard for them to admit that. So rather than do that, they're going to blame it blame their lack of success on successful people. And yes, duh. Oh, but some people inherit their wealth. Obviously. But the vast majority of successful people do not inherit their wealth. And there's just a large pool of people who got to the top just purely through self-improvement. And what I'm trying to get across in this video is the fact that like being successful is no longer a choice. Like it's no longer a luxury to be successful. It's no longer a luxury to focus on self-improvement. It is a necessity. The middle class is eroding. It is going to be gone. Either you are going to be working class or you are going to be rich. Either you are going to be obsessed with politics, too focused on the news, outraged, waiting for someone to save you, or you are going to be an insanely sovereign individual that wields an amount of power and influence and mobility that the other people, it wouldn't even seem real to them. That's where we're headed. You have to understand the themes of human nature. You have to understand what's going on right now. The separation is both physical and psychological. And what you'll see, read the book, The Lessons of History by Will Durant. What happens when the gaps come too wide? Societies destabilize. Our society is becoming destabilized, even though it doesn't have to be this way. And when societies become too destabilized, when some people get too successful, that is when revolts happen. You see people out in the streets protesting. Protests are becoming more violent. Outrage is becoming more vitriolic. People are feeling more and more helpless. People are feeling more and more outrage. This quiet anger is growing. And honestly, again, not to get political, but I do fear what will happen after this election if it goes in a certain direction. And you know what direction I'm talking about. People's heads are going to explode. Meanwhile, people like me, I'm not big into politics. I pay attention to it, but I focus on myself, and lo and behold, under this administration, looking the way that I do, I'm just fine. I know plenty of other people who look the way that I do under this administration who are doing exceptionally well. And it's all about a matter of perception. Scott Adams, creator of Dilbert Comics, who actually, Dilbert Comics is like his least successful endeavor. The guy is a genius when it comes to marketing, persuasion, human nature, all of that. He talks about the concept of two movies on the same screen. So the story goes like this. There's a big theater full of people, and they're all watching a movie. But half the people watching the movie have one ideology, and half the people in the other half of the audience have a different ideology. If you were to pick one person of each ideology and have them describe the movie they watched, you wouldn't think that they were variations of the same movie. You would, by their descriptions, feel like they were watching entirely different movies. See, that's why people have so much, not just disagreement with each other, but there's so much hate and division because they literally live in different realities. They live in different universes. They can't fathom how somebody else would think differently than them. That's where all the problems and discontent is coming from. So really, all that I'm trying to do is cherry pick out the people who are kind of like me, the people who are kind of like, I'm kind of in the middle on the fence between all this shit. Really, I'm just trying to focus on myself and do better. I'm trying to pluck these people out. And the people on my side of the universe who are focused on self-improvement, who are focused on making their lives a better place, touching the people closest to them, touching their audience, sharing the messages with people who are receptive and kind of ignoring everyone else, guess what? We're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, abled, disabled, gay, straight, trans, affiliations, left, right, up, down, doesn't matter. We're just trying to get success. We're just trying to understand the way the world works and come from that perspective and try to do what we can from that perspective. We don't think in terms of binary, I'm on the left, I'm on the right, haves and have-nots. We're thinking about taking whatever we have with our situation and taking that to the top. And I know people of all different walks of life who feel this way. And I often think that's why the message cuts across. I've had people who, if I were to like tell them who each other was, people in my audience, they'd be enemies. I have people who in other contexts would be enemies that are both receptive to my message. Why? Because my message has nothing to do with those sorts of ideologies. It has something to do with the unifier of all human beings. We all want the same basic things. We want to have meaning in our life. We want to feel like our life matters. Maybe we all don't want to have yachts and mansions, but we want financial flexibility. We want not to have stress and cortisol coursing through our bodies because we don't have enough money. We want to be able to have control and autonomy over our time. We want to be able to wake up and just do the things that we want to do. We want to be creative. We want to take care of our families. We want to have good relationships. We want to invest in our communities. We want to feel like our life is of some importance, and we don't want to be stuck in this BS societal trap, prison, brainwash, garbage existence that other people live in. That is what unifies us. So if I sound passionate about this, is because I see the oncoming train coming. I've studied enough about human nature, about psychology to see what's coming. I'm just trying to get as many people over to this side as I possibly can, because the thing that happens is when you continue to dive into negativity, nihilism, outrage, it builds momentum. I always talk about upward spirals and downward spirals. People are going through nasty, nasty downward spirals right now. In material terms, we are the wealthiest we have ever been, but suicide's on the rise, depression's on the rise, obesity is on the rise, overly medication is on the rise. All of these things in seemingly prosperous times, things are going south. Why? Because we're in prosperous times in terms of absolute wealth compared to previous generations, but we're still not happy. That's because no amount of wealth, no amount of toys, no amount of Netflix, no amount of BMW cars and polo shirts and Nike shoes can solve the meaning problem for you. You have to solve the meaning problem for yourself, and I'm trying to help you do that, but you have to help yourself. So that's all I have. I'm just painting a vision of the future for you to kind of mull over. Decide whether or not I'm telling the truth. Decide whether or not you think I'm right, and then make your decisions moving forward from there. Okay, if you want more cold, hard truths like I just talked about in this video, grab the book, Real Help, An Honest Guide to Self-Improvement. This is a book that many people have said cuts through the noise in the self-improvement industry. If you're really ready to hear it raw, direct, almost in your face so that it sinks in, grab your copy of Real Help. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the little notification bell so that you can get brand new videos the moment they come out. All other platforms, please like, comment, subscribe. Love me. Namaste. I will see you on the next video.